A lot of blowouts this afternoon, but let's get started with the game that was actually close. The most exciting, one of the more exciting games of the week, the Redskins versus Rams. Yes, I said that in a sentence. Anyway, the Rams and Redskins, it started out as a fumble recovery for a touchdown early for Washington, put them up 7-0. A bad miscue by St. Louis to get things started, thanks to a early fumble. Then the Rams battled, and then the Rams were struggling continuously as it became 14-3. But then once they were down 21-6, then that's when Sam Bradford finally woke up and made it 21-13 with a pass to Danny Amendola, and then they got in field goal range to make it 21-16 at halftime. Now in the second half, Robert Griffin struggled a little bit. I mean, the Redskins offense couldn't get going like they would like, and the Rams got a field goal and to make it 23-20. But then later on in the quarter, Griffin got a 7-yard touchdown run, making it 28-23. And then the Rams played shutdown defense the entire fourth quarter. At the beginning of the quarter, a 1-yard pass to Matthew Mulligan made it 31-28. And then the Rams played great defense the rest of the quarter. Both teams really played great, but the Rams and Sam Bradford stepped his game up. He threw 310 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was a great performance by Sam Bradford, and it is a good moment. It's a good feeling to be a St. Louis. It's a good day to be a St. Louis Rams fan if you are one today, as the Rams win. As the Rams win 31-28 over the Redskins. RG3, 20 of 29, 206 yards, 1 touchdown, and he threw his first pick of the season. What I think this means for the Redskins, they still got some growing up to do. I mean, they're a young team. They got their young running back did nice. He got 89 yards. RG3 also had 82 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns. So RG3, he really did all he could. It's just the defense couldn't get the stops when they needed to most. But give all the credit in the world to Sam Bradford as he stepped up. Whenever Steven Jackson struggled only on 58 yards rushing, although one of their backups did really nice, and Daryl Richardson, he ended up getting 83 yards on 15 carries. Amendola was the hot target today, 160 and a touchdown. I mean, things will look up for the Rams. I mean, they don't have a bad squad. I think they have a great home field advantage, in my opinion, and I think eventually they will become a good team. Eventually, I don't know about right this year, but I think they're gonna make some steps under new coach Jeff Fisher, and I think they're gonna make a lot of strides for a year or two to come. The Redskins will have to bounce back next week as RG3 will make his home debut against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals defense has looked very lethargic at best, so RG3 has a good chance to put up some big numbers. Now, and the Rams also have to go to Chicago to take on the Bears, and you saw Jay Cutler the other day. He struggled. He was complaining, and I'm curious to see how Jay Cutler responds after last week. But we'll go off to the game that just finished, the Jets and the Steelers. Well, it's supposed to be one of the bigger games of the day. Sanchez started out pretty well. Got up to a 7-3 lead at the end of the first. Their offense got slowed down after that, and the Steelers took a halftime lead thanks to a Big Ben pass to Heath Miller. It was 13-10 at recess. And then Big Ben went off, and this is when the Jets really missed Darrelle Revis today. Also, to note, James Harrison was missing on the defensive side for the Steelers. But I think the Jets missed Darrelle Revis more than the Steelers missed James Harrison because they were completing a lot of passes, and it looked more like Big Ben was he was in the zone, and he got 24 31, 275, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers that I've seen. No turnovers. So Big Ben was looking really good, and Mark Sanchez didn't build on the success he had last week. Although 10 of 27, 138 yards and 1 touchdown. To note, Tim Tebow was actually on the field today. He had a 22-yard rush, but that was it. What I think this means, it was a much needed win for the Steelers. They needed every bit. They really needed this win just for the sake of keeping up with the AFC North. And now they're tied with the Ravens at 1-1, as well as the Bengals, and the Browns are 0-2. So that kicks up the AFC North. The Jets are now 1-1 with the Bills Actually, the whole division is 1-1. Now that I think about it, because the Patriots lost to the Cardinals earlier. So Jets, Patriots, Dolphins, and Bills are all 1-1. Tough division, toughest division in the AFC. Too soon to call it that. I think it's still the AFC North, but there's still a long way to go. The Jets got the Dolphins next week, so one of them will fall behind the other, and the Steelers have to go to Oakland to take on the Raiders. Now let's go on to the Dallas Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks. Oof, Dallas, Dallas, Dallas. It started bad on a blocked punt picked up by Jerron Johnson at the end zone. Romo fired back in the second quarter, made it 10-7, but that's about as successful as the offense would be for the day as Romo struggled against a great Seattle defense behind one of the best home field advantages in the league. And Seattle playing in Seattle is really tough for anybody who steps in there. So, is this a bad loss for the Cowboys? I'm gonna say no. I mean, I think to me they did what they needed to do. They needed to take one of these first two games on the road. They did that against the Giants. They struggled today, but I think they're gonna be all right in the long run. But their defense is gonna have to play better. I mean, they can't miss all the tackles they did today if they want to have a chance to compete in the NFC East. But for now, they're tied with second with the Giants and Redskins, and meanwhile the Eagles are sitting high at 2-0. But the Cowboys have the Buccaneers next week. They're at home, so I think that's gonna be an interesting game. I think Dallas can win, but I'm gonna have to see something though. I mean, I want to put some stock in the Cowboys. I do. I think they can win the division, but I gotta see. I gotta see the talent take the field before I go all in on Dallas. Seattle has a Monday night game against the Green Bay Packers. And it's at Seattle, so that's going to be a great atmosphere next Monday night. In hopes of Seattle going 2-1. It's going to be. I'm looking forward to a great game next week. And last, we got the Titans and the Chargers. Antonio Gates did not play, although it didn't feel like the Chargers really missed him too much. It felt like Antonio Gates never left, as Dante Rosario got 3 touchdowns, one of their backup tight ends. And the Titans are trash. I don't. I mean, I think they're really going to miss Jeff Fisher because that defense is bad. And give all the credit to Phillip Rivers. He did great today. 284 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, his first of the season, but I mean, it was when the game was out of hand. So I mean, and I think the Chargers found a backup running back in Jackie Battle. I don't know why they didn't play him last week, but he had 69 yards and 2 touchdowns. Granted, the game was pretty much over when he got it, but that's still an accomplishment. And I think he's probably going to be that number 2 back as soon as Ryan Matthews comes back, which could be as early as next week. And I don't know about the Chargers defense yet because Jake Locker, I mean, Chris Johnson, he only had 17 yards on 8 carries, and he's basically on pace for about only 320 yards this season. I think he's becoming Larry Johnson Part 2. He's got the money now. He's got the money now. He's just playing just to stay healthy, and just it's pathetic, you know. I mean, it's like he doesn't even care for the game anymore. I mean, heck, Jake Locker had more rushing yards than him, and I know Jake Locker's a scrambling quarterback, but I mean, I don't know. It's just. And Kenny Britt came back, but he only had 5 yards on 1 catch, which, and in my opinion, Tennessee should go with Matt Hasselbeck. I mean, yes, the defense is not that good, and they're going to give up a lot of points per game, but you want to at least be someone in the game, and I think Matt Hasselbeck has a better chance of doing that right now than Jake Locker. But you can say, yes, the Chargers defense is looking good so far, but they got a real test against Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons next week. The Chargers are at home, but I think the Atlanta Falcons have more weapons, and I think they're going to give San Diego a great run for their money and may even beat San Diego. So it's going to be a big test, and we'll see if the Chargers are up to the task or if they go back to the early season struggles from years past, with the exception being last year where they went 4-1 and ended up 8-8 and not making the playoffs. Titans, meanwhile, next week they have facing the Lions. They're at home, but I think Matt Stafford will probably have a field day. I don't want to be disrespectful to the Titans, but right now they're looking like one of the worst teams in the NFL. So that's all I got to say about that. But that's the afternoon recap. Be sure to come back to my Sunday night recap of football, the 49ers and the Lions.